Hello YouTube, this is Dazza the Cameraman. Today is October 24th, 2020, and in case you haven't noticed, it is about first quarter moon today. So if you go out and have a look at the moon, it'll look like half a moon, which is first quarter, and I had a nice view of the moon today in the daytime sky, which raises an interesting point. I'm in my 50s and I have encountered people older than me who have never seen the moon in the daytime sky. Possibly because, unlike people who are interested in astronomy, some people seldom look up unless there's a good reason to look up, like maybe they hear an aeroplane going across the sky and they happen to look up, and then one day they look up at an aeroplane and not far away from the aeroplane they notice that the moon is in the daytime sky, something they've never noticed before, and it comes to them as a surprise because they've never seen it before, and sometimes they think that it's something that is unusual, it shouldn't be happening. Well, of course, it is perfectly normal to see the moon in the daytime sky. The moon takes approximately a month to orbit the Earth, so obviously there are going to be times when it's going to be in the daytime sky, not just in the nighttime sky. And the same thing is also true that there are times when you can go out in the evening or night sky before midnight and you won't see the moon. So today was a good example of seeing the first quarter moon in the sky, and if you go out over the next few days up to full moon, you will see the moon in the daytime sky. And we're looking at Starry Night here. I've got the location set to my home location, today October 24th, 2020, and the moonrise today was at about 12:28, and you can see that the sun is high in the sky. I'm in the southern hemisphere, so the sun is in the northern half of my sky, unlike for people who are in the northern hemisphere, and the sun tends to be in the southern half of their sky. So my view can be a little bit confusing to people. And once again, I've got the size of the moon enlarged to make it easy to see, and the other thing that I'm going to do is turn off the daylight to make it easier to see, but we'll also see the sun and the moon as they cross the sky. This line here is called the Meridian. It's the line directly between north and south, and obviously let's turn off the daylight so it's easier to see. Now obviously the illuminated side of the moon that we see is illuminated by the light from the sun. The sun is shining on the moon, okay? So whatever side of the moon is illuminated is going to be directly facing the sun. Now sometimes it can look a little bit strange when we look at it this way. It almost looks like the illuminated side of the moon is facing in a slightly different direction to the sun, but that is simply due to perspective, and it's a thing known as the moon Terminator illusion. And there are some very good videos demonstrating what actually causes that illusion. But if we imagine sort of laying on our back, looking up at the sky, you can see that the illuminated part of the moon is facing directly to the sun. So bearing that in mind, and this is the key point of this video, that the illuminated part of the moon always faces the sun, what's going to happen when we follow the moon across the sky? If it was doing cartwheels across the sky and doing something strange which it shouldn't be doing, then obviously the illuminated part of the moon would not be facing the sun. But by necessity, the illuminated part of the moon always has to face the sun, because of course it is the sun which is illuminating it. So as we follow the moon across the sky, doesn't matter what time of the day it is, the illuminated side of the moon will always be facing the sun. But hang on a minute, now the sun is over the horizon. Well, that's true, but the horizon, the sun still exists, even though it's over the horizon. So even though it's nighttime now, and the sun is over the horizon, of course, the illuminated part of the moon is still going to be facing the sun. So whenever you see the moon in the sky, and a first quarter moon is a really good example because it looks like half a moon, and it's very obvious to see which direction the illuminated part of the moon is, but even for a thin crescent moon that's pretty obvious as well. Once again, it's always going to be facing the sun. So whatever direction the sun is, obviously if it's a few hours after sunset and the sun has gone over the the western horizon, it might be the southwestern horizon, it might be the northwestern horizon, depending on the time of the year, then the illuminated part of the moon is going to be facing the sun. It can't be doing cartwheels in the sky and pointing up this way when the sun is down here, because it is the sun that is illuminating it. Obviously the sun would have to be up here for this part of the moon to be illuminated. And in the same way, the sun would have to be up here for this side of the moon to be illuminated. So just bear that in mind when you're looking at the moon in the sky. Even if the sun is not in the sky, the sun is over the horizon, the moon is going to be facing whichever direction the sun is. And before we go, let's take a look at these photos, which I normally use with the flat earthers. This is a good demonstration of the illumination of the moon by the sun. You can do this using a golf ball or a ping pong ball or anything like that. When you see the moon in the sky like that, say first quarter or any phase, use a ball and just have it illuminated by the sun as we see here, and you will see that the illumination of the ball that you're holding is the same as the illumination of the moon there. So here are some other examples. This one's a golf ball. You can see that the crescent phase on the moon there is the same as the crescent phase on the golf ball. Here is another one, same thing. And yep, it's always the same direction. No matter where the moon is in the sky and which direction it's facing. Of course, which way is the sun going to be? The sun's going to be in that direction, and the sun's going to be in the same direction. Okay, so whichever direction that the sun is in, that is the direction that is going to be illuminating the moon from. So the moon always has to be facing the sun, and it's not going to be doing cartwheels through the sky facing in different directions. It always has to be facing the sun. And maybe somebody might have a light bulb moment when it all becomes clear that it all makes sense.